Welcome to Keiser Voices, the story of success, brought to you by Keiser University Graduate School, here where the academic world meets personal triumph. Join us today as we dive into the captivating tales of success.
Welcome back, everybody, to another episode of Keiser Voices, and we're excited to kick off Black History Month with one of our favorite past guests, Professor Anthony Hilliard. Tony, thank you for joining us.
Thank you for having me. It's a true honor.
So if you missed the previous episode with Tony, you would have missed the introduction for him. He is one of our professors from our Flagship campus. He specializes in global sport business and sports law, teaching a lot of the classes offered for the sports management program at the master's level. Before that lifetime, and still, really, he's an attorney who specializes in sports law and has the amazing opportunity to have represent some amazing people and organizations and being able to interact with them. And we'll talk about that in a little bit. But I guess let me ask you first, Tony, thinking back on your career, what's one of those moments that really stood out to you? And then we'll kind of talk a little bit about our actual topic for today.
Right. No, I was so fortunate. I was an athlete. My first memories are with athletes. My father was friends with many of the old St. Louis Cardinals. So I had I had to call him Uncle Robert, Bob Gibson, Orlando Cepeda, Lou Brock coming around, and I used to steal their fries and hot dogs and things. So I think that set the tone. Now that I'm able to look back, it's clear that influenced me. But I'm an athlete by nature, all my life, still an athlete now. I just dove in to my three loves, sports, law, and business. And it just opened up wonderful opportunities. I did have a couple of really great moments. I normally don't get tongue-tied and nervous, but I was at a Boston Celtics practice a long time ago. I used to represent Rick Fox, and I saw this older gentleman walk out in sweats with a towel around his neck. It was Red Auerbach. He's the great architect. And I was like, oh my goodness. And he sat right next to me, and I'm saying, please don't say anything to me because I don't know what. But he actually spoke to me. He's a nice guy. And I had a conversation with him about what he sees and how he judges players. And that kind of set a tone for me moving forward about how to approach those things. So not only was it just a really cool moment and one that I'm still talking about today, but it actually set a foundation for me to do things the right way and represent players the right way, and also be able to understand what's needed for the vision to help these players move through their careers. So.
And I appreciate you answering that. And there was a method to the madness. It doesn't often make sense, even if you go back and listen to this episode. But all of this led to how I've had the opportunity to meet you and get to work alongside you. We had you on previously to talk about mentorship and the importance of it. And we're here to kind of continue that conversation about mentorship and building strong leaders, especially when we're talking about empowering Black voices. And, when we looked at this topic, obviously you were the first one to come to mind. Couldn't think of a better person.
Thank you. Checks in the mail.
Thank you. That can stay between us. But when we actually take a minute and we reflect back on, not back on, but when we look at Black History Month, what does it teach us about leadership, and how has mentorship and your experiences really shaped your perspective as a leader?
Yeah, so Black History Month is so important to many people because I'm one that kind of bridges that gap. I think in one of our discussions or little filming last year, I talked about remembering the day that Martin Luther King was assassinated. So I was right in that area of being old enough to understand it at that time and what the change that was happening, but now being someone who has benefited from the service and the sacrifice that others did. So Black History Month teaches us that leadership isn't about titles or position. It's about responsibility. It's about courage, service, and especially when the system wasn't or isn't built for you to succeed. And when you look back at Black history, you can find leaders who had to lead without any type of formal institution or formal authority. They kind of started things by scratch. They were resourceful, and they were able to reach out and communicate and organize with the community and organize them around a mission that was for the greater good. And that, if you ask me, is real leadership. You have vision, discipline, and most importantly, when you're connected to something bigger than yourself, that's where the empathy and real passion about life comes out. So it always reminds me that progress is a collective. Leaders create networks and pipelines. And it's not just an individual success story. And if they do it right, that pipeline can help other people as they're moving through the process.
And I know that's something we constantly talk about, but looking at mentorship. But you had a point that I'd like to really emphasize. When you look back at the time of Dr. King, when he was in his, I don't want to say in his height, because I feel that his legacy is still the height of him.
Yes,
I don't think
absolutely.
you can. But when he, before he was assassinated, the phrase was always like, okay, separate but equal. But in all reality, it was separate but not equal. And that's always been something about that time frame, and learning about him and other individuals like Rosa Parks that has always stood out with
Yes,
their
yes.
voices
Mm-hmm.
is what is the truth of it. And to think about what they accomplished in just having their voices heard. Did reform happen overnight to allow people to sit anywhere they want on a bus? Absolutely not. But who started the conversation? We can
That's
all
right.
say Rosa Parks, without a doubt. And there's many other famous events like that. And it took one person to empower others
Yes,
to create these movements
that's right.
when we look at Black history. So how do you approach that empowerment in others, like bringing forth the empower, especially when we talk about work, community, students, like the student community, and we're looking really to empower those underrepresented voices, especially within the Black community.
Right. And when you mention Rosa Parks and Dr. King, if you go back and really listen to a lot of his speeches, it's about love and togetherness, right? And at the end of the day, love is all we have. The cars and houses and status really go away. At the end of the day, all we have is love, and love is what keeps memories of those who have passed on in our minds and motivate us. Um, but I approach empowerment, especially with young people of color, through action and structure. It's not just a pat on the back or encouragement. It starts with creating real space, and making sure that people have meaningful roles in decision making, not just sitting in a room, but actually participating in things. You're empowering them. I'm intentional about those that get visibility, who presents, who leads, and more importantly, who gets credit. If you are able to empower a younger person or someone who isn't as experienced, but they had a great idea, and you let everyone know that, hey, that she is the one that came up with that idea, you're uplifting and you're empowering, and you're giving them a seat at the table. I also think that it's not just mentorship, but it's sponsorship, meaning that you're advocating for these individuals in public, you're recommending people for opportunities, you're making introductions. And I know in my business, that's what it's all about, sport business. I've said it around you so many times, sometimes who you know is more important than what you know. So using my credibility to open doors for others, that's sponsorship. It's a part of mentorship, but it's sponsorship. But it's also empowering that generally young person to come in the room and be a part of what we're doing. And also access is important. Sharing not only networks, but also explaining, how can I put this, the unwritten rules,
Mhm.
so that people don't have to guess how to do things. So when you're open and you sponsor people, you give them credit, you acknowledge their presence and their contributions, you're beginning to empower them. And when you empower people, that leads to outcomes, positive outcomes, and actually motivates them to do more for whatever the project is at the time. So I guess the goal is durable influence, giving platforms, protecting people, giving them credit, and also giving them access so that they aren't just heard, they're actually elevated in certain situations.
Yeah, and I think that's an important point. One of the things that, you keep mentioning, because, and we're referring to those of you that aren't getting the references, we're referring to the Amplify program. That's how Professor
Mhm.
Tony and I know each other. And it's
Absolutely.
a mentorship program
Mhm.
looking to elevate these upcoming master graduates, from a lot of them from athlete to professional.
Yes.
And that can be a challenge in and of its own, because we go from shorts and sweats and jerseys to professional attire, which is our newest conversation that we've been
Yes.
having.
Yes.
Um, but the whole point of it is to create these opportunities for these students in this specific case who did not have opportunities elsewhere. But this is true for mentorship as well, correct? For underrepresented voices, like,
Absolutely.
what we talk about, some of the youth in the black community.
Absolutely. Um, Mentorship and sponsorship, but really under the umbrella of mentorship, it creates opportunities for those who are underrepresented voices, because it transfers three things that people don't always have or have access to, which is, I'm sorry, that isn't equal, which is access, clarity, and confidence. Those three are really important to the underrepresented or the young or those that need to be moved forward. It transfers social capital, relationships, introductions, recommendations, so that talent gets seen by the right people. Secondly, it can demystify the system that you're working in, the business. Young people are not born with this type of knowledge, so it's acquired, and it's acquired via the act of more experienced people sharing this important information. Sometimes if you know where the dips and curves are, it helps you navigate. But if you don't know, it's like walking, through a hallway at night. Um, I think a good mentor also explains the unwritten rules, especially in business, how you need to present yourself, how hiring works, how to build a resume, how to build a portfolio, and most importantly, how to negotiate. That's a big one. And I'll even say to you, when I was younger and someone offered me a job, I was too scared to negotiate. I just wanted the job that much. But it's important because your value and worth that you're offering to a company is important. So that information gap is the big barrier. And if you can help someone clearly understand the business landscape as well as that social landscape, and they're prepared when they enter into it, they excel. But again, that's reaching back, that's mentoring, that's sponsoring, that's giving information. It's not just guidance or words of wisdom. It's actually helping others and the underrepresented and young people create opportunity. And that's the way it should be. We should be sharing that information because a lot of us stumble. But if we can help the next generation that's coming up so they don't have to fall or stumble, that just means better things for themselves as well as the ones coming behind them.
So what does it take then to be a strong mentor or a leader? Like what should someone, look for when they are trying to create that space for growth and inspiration, or just, where to step in the right direction?
Yeah, it takes, my father used to use the term something like brutal honesty. I think that's what he used to say. And what he really meant by that is always being truthful and straightforward and not trying to change anything. I think the strongest leaders, the strongest mentors are those who have that transparency and are truthful.
Mhm.
And they also take the time to create space for growth. I think they're intentional, meaning that they make plans for inclusion and development rather than just assuming it's going to happen and the person will get it. They actually have a plan and they're looking for cues as to where that development may be not moving as fast as it should. Most importantly, I think a strong mentor should be humble and culturally aware. Um, the people that can walk into a room and not know anyone, into a room of filled with people from different parts of the globe, different socioeconomic status, and get along with everyone, that person is culturally aware and they're also humble because they want to learn who the people are. It's not just talking about themselves. And when you are humble and you're culturally aware, you can connect with a lot of people. And I think the pathway widens up instead of a narrow one that people have when they have myopia. Um, I think the most important thing for a strong leader or mentor is consistency, showing up, following through. If you say you're going to do something, make sure you do it. And for the underrepresented, the younger people too, is also protecting, if you're in a space, in a meeting, in an environment, is also making sure that people's dignity are protected, right? And you're watching out
Mhm.
for them to make sure. Um, it's all about, for the best leaders, it's all about a focus on legacy instead of ego. And that legacy is a part of pulling others up and helping them in the process of development.
So my next question for you, I'm going to ask it. I'm not looking to offend you,
Uh-oh.
but
Okay.
since you're mentioning, you were a child when Dr. King was unfortunately assassinated.
Mhm.
You've gone through generational changes and
Yes.
how things are done, how businesses are done, and even once you became an attorney in the sports world over the years, things change. So I'm not saying you're old. I'm just saying you have some great
Yes, you are.
experiences to share with. No, I'm not. I'm just saying you have some great experiences to share with us and unique perspectives. Um,
Mhm.
See, I'm not saying old. Um, but you have like these years of just, I think, such wealth of knowledge that you can share with us. Are there stories or experiences of um, Black leaders or sports leaders, or you mentioned your father once already, that really influenced the way that you've learned how to become a mentor and support others?
Yeah, and I mentioned Dr. King earlier, and you made a reference to that. I remember hearing him speak, and I'm just from here, from inside. I had never, and even now when I listen to or watch his speeches, he was such an elegant man,
Mhm.
such an educated man, and one that saw the big picture. And that motivated me. Motivated me in the sense of wanting to be able to connect with people, but being able to connect in a certain way that they understood, and more importantly, through empathy, because we're all the same. We all need air, we need water, right? So I think those at a higher level of intelligence, a higher level of influence, understand that and kind of wrap their arms around everyone and communicate in certain ways. But I think that elegance that I witnessed as a child and now even as an older man are important. um, when we think of what needs to be done in order to reach out and help others. I think he was always speaking about empowerment. I think he was for everyone. Another great thing is that he was a huge advocate of women's rights too, and had very influential women high up in his decision-making structure. So it's a question of understanding the moment, being prepared, being positioned to do the right thing at all times. And I think that if um, more experienced people, how's that instead of
There,
older people? Yeah,
there we
if
go.
more experienced people can understand that and translate that or and demonstrate that to younger people, we're creating a society that is more empathetic and concerned about everyone instead of just one area. When I say elegant, I mean someone who's refined, someone who's educated, and someone who's empathetic. When they walk in the room and they actually show care, that's important. And people pick up on that, and people want to learn more, and people want to maybe jump into an activity with that person because it's not just about them, that individual, it's not about themselves, it's about a wider community. And I think if young people actually understand, mentees to understand that um, if you are trying to reach out and you're trying to do it in a thoughtful way, in an empathetic way, that goes a lot further than just yelling and screaming and being angry or whatever. So I hope I've answered your question right, but I do believe that being prepared, being knowledgeable, being an expert in your field, but also being open and warm and empathetic to others creates that elegance, and other people are attracted to that.
I think my final question for you, and I don't think we could spend enough time talking about mentorship. I know we've tied it in. This is the second time we've had you, the second time we kind of talked about mentorship. But somebody who's listening to this, whether they're part of an underserved community, whether they're a student trying to figure things out, whether they're new to their country, what should they look for, or how would you recommend them identify and I guess get, receive, make a partnership for a mentor?
Mhm. Yeah, so mentoring is a gift, actually. It's a legacy. And if it's done correctly, the secrets, the information is passed on. It's a legacy, it's passed on from one generation to another. And if it's done the correct way, the mentor opens up pipelines, networks, so that the mentee has a clearer path than the one that the mentor had. So ultimately, by giving, you are creating a better path as well as a more developed person, hopefully, in that process. And all you're doing is creating more legacy. I talked about Red Auerbach at the beginning of this video, and there were things that he wasn't mentoring me, but he did share information with me, and I still think about that to this day. He made my path wider and clearer on a few important things on actually how to assess players. So we as an older generation have the wisdom, experience behind us, and it's a gift when we share that with the younger generation and also help them in that pathway. Like I was saying earlier about giving those really gifted young people a place in the room and acknowledging the work that they've done. All that does is uplift them. So it's a gift. It's a gift of legacy, and it's a true gift of returning the favor. Um, but excellence, legacy, and most importantly, it's giving the gift of fortitude, because you have to be strong to be able to open your heart and pull somebody else up. And I think that's what's most important in the entire process. Mentoring is a powerful thing, and you will find a lot of mentors, and I think we've been in meetings where that's happened, where just the giving and helping what you get back is just 10 times of what you gave to a younger person. And we just hope that, what's that term, pay it forward, that the younger people do the same for the generations behind them. And again, we go back to that elegance. We are acting as human beings in the world society and trying to pull everybody, because we're all in this together. I mean, and the best thing to do is think about others, not only yourself, and give people information that they need, especially younger people, information they need so they can be good and great, and then they give the favor back to the generation behind them. It's a great cycle, and if it's done right, it can benefit a lot of people at different stages in their life, and it's very fulfilling at the same time.
Fantastic. Professor Hilliard, I can't thank you enough for coming back, joining us, especially as we look to celebrate Black History Month all month long. Thank you so much for sharing your insights with us and your stories of your lived experiences.
Well, thank you. It's an honor. Heather, you're amazing. Your whole staff is amazing. And it's really a gift that I have to be at Keiser and to be able to work with you. Our Amplify program, I was looking in our last meeting, and all of the mentors and the mentees were actually smiling. I mean, this is power, and a power for good. And I'm just thankful to be a part of Keiser, the entire system, and being able to do things like this to help the next generation, and also to help my generation too. It's a true gift. So I'm thankful.
And if you guys have enjoyed this episode, be sure to like, share, subscribe, and follow all month long as we explore Black history. And we will catch you on the next one.
Thank you.
Thank you for journeying with us today on Keiser Voices, the story of success. As we close this chapter, remember, every story has its next page.